Is there a place where people speak two languages in the same sentence, pass around a cold drink like a ritual, build German-speaking towns in the middle of thorny forests, and still live alongside a creature once thought by science to be extinct? There, female dancers can walk and spin with multiple bottles balanced on their heads, while red dirt roads stretch through a suffocatingly hot wilderness. Further east, the Itaipu Dam spans the Paraná River like a colossal wall. This structure generates an astonishing amount of electricity, but beneath the quiet surface of the lake behind it lie the remains of Guarani, a waterfall system that once had one of the largest flow rates in the world and was completely submerged in 1982. A natural wonder that once roared day and night now exists only in old photographs and the memories of those who saw it. This is Paraguay, a landlocked nation in the heart of South America, often overlooked between its two giant neighbors, Brazil and Argentina. Behind its quiet exterior is a world of ancient forests, blended languages, memories of war, strange rituals, and communities that exist almost entirely outside of modern times. Why has such a small country managed to keep its unique identity after centuries of colonization? Why did the Guarani language never disappear? And how did German-speaking Mennonite communities manage to build towns in a region once considered almost uninhabitable? More importantly, what has Paraguay had to trade in exchange for electricity, pasture land, and development? The answer does not begin on a battlefield or in ancient ruins. It begins on an ordinary morning in Asuncion, as the city wakes up by the Paraguay River and a flask of tereré begins to make its way around a circle of people. Old buses run through crowded avenues, vendors set up stalls in the market, and students in uniform wait by the roadside. Large thermoses appear in offices, construction sites, stone benches, and under the shade of trees, becoming a familiar sign of mourning in Asuncion. This capital contains many layers of time. The Lopez Palace, the House of Independence, the National Pantheon of the Heroes, and other colonial structures stand next to new buildings and shopping malls, while the low-lying Bañados neighborhoods along the river frequently flood, founded in 1537, and once called the Mother of Cities. Asuncion is an old but vibrant city. In the heat of Paraguay, terere is present all day long. Yerba mate leaves are placed in a guampa, brewed with cold or iced water, sometimes with added medicinal herbs. One person pours, everyone drinks through a metal straw, and then passes the cup to the next person. The terere circle creates a pause to tell stories, exchange news, and maintain relationships, which is why this knowledge and practice has been recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage. Friendship even has its own day in Paraguay. In 1958, Dr. Ramon Artemio Bracho started the World Friendship Crusade in Puerto Penasco. July 30th later became International Friendship Day. In the game of Secret Santa, known locally as Invisible Friend, each person draws a name, secretly prepares a gift, and only reveals their identity when they meet, reflecting the huge role of family, friends, and personal connections. Paraguay recognizes Spanish and Guarani as official languages, but millions of people frequently use Jopara, mixing both in the exact same sentence. Guarani is closer to the heart in family, markets, the countryside, soccer, music, jokes, affection, and anger. Spanish is preferred in administration, universities, legal matters, and business. Documents from 1770 to 1813 show that Guarani was used in letters and politics, not just in missionary work. Outside the city, the traditional house style known as culata yovai features two opposing bedroom blocks with a large central room between them for receiving guests, dining, and working. The veranda provides shade, and the front door aligns with the back door to catch the breeze through mud walls, wooden frames, and thatched or clay-tiled roofs. The yard is where people drink terere, peel cassava, talk, nap, and cook. The clay oven, called a tatakua, is used to bake chipa, cornbread, and meats. Behind this rustic charm lie clear hardships. Many indigenous households live in simple rancho shelters, lacking running water and trash collection, even though more than half have cell phones. In the Chaco, rainwater cisterns, artificial ponds, wells, and water pipelines decide the location of homes, livestock numbers, and production seasons, creating the paradox of a family with a smartphone who still has to walk long distances to fetch water. In these daily habits, Paraguay reveals itself not through monuments, but through the way people share water, words, shade, and time. But the most intimate way to understand the rhythm of Paraguayan life is at the dinner table. The cuisine here is built on corn, cassava, and Guarani techniques, blended with cheese, milk, eggs, and cattle farming introduced during the colonial era. Boiled cassava is present next to countless meals, as familiar as rice or bread is elsewhere. A day might begin at 5 or 6 in the morning with hot mate, sometimes with added herbs. By 7 or 8, the aroma of burnt sugar cocido with milk spreads through the kitchen, accompanied by chipa, mbeju, or reviro. Around 9:30 to 10 is the time for terere rupa, which literally means the bed of terere. This is a small snack eaten before drinking the cold water, which could be just bread, chipa, tortilla, cold cuts, or leftovers. Lunch often features grilled meats, soups, stews, and boiled cassava. In the afternoon, the terere flask follows people to the fields, workshops, or social gatherings. Dinner is simpler, sometimes just the leftovers from lunch. Chipa is one of the most recognizable flavors, made from cassava starch, cheese, and eggs, shaped into rings or small buns, and baked in the tatakua. Sopa paraguaya, on the other hand, carries a confusing name. Though called a soup, it is actually a dense cornbread made with onions and cheese. Both show a cuisine that does not need luxury ingredients to create a sense of fullness and comfort. Mbeju also uses cassava starch, mixed with cheese and fat, then fried in a pan to make it crispy on the outside while remaining soft, chewy, and rich on the inside. Reviro is flour fried and broken into small pieces, cheap but filling, and deeply connected to working-class people. Payagua mascada combines cassava with beef and is fried into patties, while pastel mandillo has a cassava crust wrapping a hot beef filling. In family meals, there is also bife coigua, beef cooked with onions, tomatoes, and eggs. Locro and caldo ava are thick soups that often recall rural life. Chicharrón trenzado is made from braided pork that is then fried or grilled. Fresh, slightly salty Paraguayan cheese can be eaten with rich, sweet sugarcane syrup, while calle ladrillo is a block of peanut and molasses candy, with a playful name that means monkey's brick. But in Paraguay, food is sometimes used to talk to invisible fears. On October 1st, many families cook jopara from corn, beans, vegetables, and cheese to ward off Caray Octubre, a folklore character who symbolizes poverty, hunger, and the lean season. This is not a scientific belief, but a ritual where a full pot of food declares that the home still has supplies, the family is still together, and hardship has not defeated the community. 2 months earlier, on August 1st, another tradition appears. People drink a small shot of caroline, a name made from caña, which is sugarcane spirit, ruda, which is rue herb, and limon, which is lemon, hoping to ward off bad luck and welcome good fortune. This practice is not medical advice either, but along with jopara, it creates a rare pair of rituals. One drink to chase away bad luck, and one dish to chase away poverty. These dishes are born from the earth and the memory of scarce times. But Paraguay is not just hot plains. The country has 11 eco-regions where humid forests, wetlands, grasslands, palm savannas, and thorny scrublands follow one after another. The Paraguay and Paraná rivers shape the country. The Paraguay River divides the territory into the green, populated east with forests, agriculture, and major cities, and the west, the vast, hot, dry Gran Chaco, which covers most of the land but holds very few people. Despite being landlocked, the rivers still provide beaches, transport routes, fish, electricity, and borders. In Encarnacion, the sandy shores of the Paraná have become a place to relax. Beyond the contrast of east and west, there are the Upper Paraná Atlantic Forest, Cerrado, Pantanal, Ñembucú, humid Chaco, dry Chaco, wetlands, and thorny forests. The humid green can quickly give way to dry soil and cacti, making a short journey feel like traveling through multiple worlds. In the east, humidity keeps the forest canopy thick and the waterways full, while the Chaco challenges life with harsh sun, dust, thorny trees, and long dry seasons. This variation supports many species, but it also means each ecosystem responds differently to agriculture, forest fires, and changing water sources. Deep in Baracayu, bird calls echo through the trees, where the jaguar rarely shows itself. In the Chaco, creatures must save water, find shade, and make use of harsh food sources. Nature in Paraguay does not show everything at once. Many of its treasures only appear when people leave the main highway, slow down, and listen to the silence. Baracayu lies between the Atlantic forest and the Cerrado, protecting a precious patch of forest with more than 1,200 plant species, about 440 bird species, and over 90 mammal species, including jaguars and pumas. This value is even greater because most of the original Atlantic forest in the region has disappeared. This place sets conservation and community education next to the pressure of clearing agricultural land, forcing people to ask how much space they will leave for nature. The Chaco still holds a creature that Western science once knew mostly through fossils. The tagua, or Chacoan peccary, was thought to be extinct until the 1970s, when zoologists confirmed it was still living deep in the thorny forests of Paraguay. Indigenous people had known of it for a long time. The animal tolerates heat and eats cacti, but is now threatened by habitat loss and expanding cattle ranches. Two lesser-known waterfalls break the stereotype that Paraguay has only plains. Monday Falls consists of 3 cascades over 40 meters high, near Ciudad del Este. Ñacunde Falls is about 40 meters high and nearly 70 meters wide in the middle of the Atlantic forest. However, the waterfall that inspires the most reflection can no longer be seen. Itaipu on the Paraná River, co-owned by Paraguay and Brazil, has 20 generating units with a total capacity of 14,000 megawatts. Paraguay uses a portion of the electricity and sells the surplus to Brazil, turning the dam into a source of income and an engineering symbol. But the reservoir drowned Guarani in 1982. Where a massive torrent of water once roared is now a quiet lake surface. A beast thought to exist only in fossils still lives, while a wonder that actually existed has vanished into the past. The things that are hidden do not only lie beneath the water. In the Jesuit ruins of the south, red stone walls still tell of the time when the Guarani printed books, played music, crafted goods, and observed the night sky alongside priests in the middle of the South American forest. In Asuncion, history sits in the middle of daily life. The Lopez Palace lights up along the river. The House of Independence recalls the moment of breaking away from colonial power, and the National Pantheon of the Heroes holds the memories of national figures and events. Street markets, buses, the bañados, and new urban areas mean the past does not stand alone, but collides with the present every day. Far from the capital, Trinidad del Paraná is one of the best-preserved Jesuit missions in Paraguay. The large plaza, red stone walls, and carved details combine European techniques and Baroque art with Guarani hands and sensibilities. What remains is not just a church, but the traces of a community once organized around labor, music, faith, and education. Jesus de Tavarang carries a different kind of beauty, because its massive church was never completed. The rare mudéjar architectural lines and unfinished walls create the feeling of a world cut short when the Jesuits were expelled in 1767. Trinidad and Jesus were recognized by UNESCO as World Heritage Sites in 1993. At San Cosme y San Damian, the story is even more surprising. Father Buenaventura Suarez and his Guarani assistants built telescopes, pendulum clocks, sundials, and observation instruments using local materials. Deep in the forest, the missions were simultaneously centers for prayer, printing, music, astronomy, agriculture, and crafts. Other journeys lead to Cacupe, the country's largest pilgrimage center, or to Tañarandi, where candlelight turns a path into a flowing stream of light during Holy Week. Encarnacion opens up beaches and avenues along the Paraná, as well as a colorful carnival. Piribebay keeps the craft of weaving 60 striped ponchos and memories of war, while Cerro Corá is where the Triple Alliance War ended in 1870. At the Defensores del Chaco National Park, thorny forests, wild animals, and relics of the Chaco War share a harsh landscape. Philadelphia and Loma Plata, on the other hand, appear as orderly Mennonite towns in the middle of an arid region. In Itá, Tobati, and Yaguaron, clay is still shaped into traditional pottery by women using methods passed down through generations. These places do not make a simple tourist route. They are like pieces of memory scattered across the country, each holding a layer of science, faith, war, or labor. But ruins and destinations only tell part of Paraguay's story. The country has 19 indigenous groups belonging to various language families and histories, rather than a single Guarani community. Guarani is the major foundation of national identity, but in the east and the Chaco, there still exist peoples with very different languages, territories, hunting and farming practices, movements, and relationships with the state. Among them, some groups of the Ayureo people still actively avoid contact with the outside world. They are considered one of the last isolated communities outside the Amazon basin. But the important thing is not to make them an exotic or primitive image. The real story lies in their right to live in isolation and their right to keep the territory they depend on for water, hunting, and movement. The Chaco forest is being cut open to create cattle ranches, and each new road can bring machinery closer. When trees are cleared, water sources, migration paths, and hunting grounds can also disappear. For groups that do not want to enter modern society, a shrinking forest is not just a loss of environment, but a loss of the ability to continue choosing their own way of life. Not far from those areas are Philadelphia and Loma Plata, where signs, schools, and churches carry German characteristics. The Mennonites use Standard German in schools and churches, while Plautdietsch is commonly spoken at home. A piece of Central Europe seems to have been placed in the middle of the hot, dry interior of South America. The Menno colony was formed in 1927 and 1928 by Mennonites coming from Canada. Fernheim was born in 1930 with those escaping the Soviet Union. They built cooperatives, dairy farms, processing plants, silos, roads, and planned towns. Over the decades, these communities turned a difficult environment into an organized production zone. But the Chaco was never an empty land, waiting for others to conquer it. This was originally the territory of the Enhet, Nivaclé, Ayureo, and many other indigenous communities. The growth of the colonies happened alongside land disputes, deforestation, changing water sources, and deep shifts in the lives of the residents who were there first. This is not a simple story of right and wrong, but a story of multiple communities living on the same land but holding very different resources and power. Even in the 21st century, Ayureo groups still avoid contact, while not far away, dairy plants, German-speaking towns, and ranches continue to expand. This blend echoes through the music. In 1925, José Asuncion Flores slowed down the tempo of the Paraguayan polka, which was usually fast and cheerful, to create the Guarani with its melancholic melody and lyrics about love, homeland, poverty, and exile. The music reveals an inward Paraguay, where loss is given a voice, and it was inscribed as an UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity in 2024. The Paraguayan polka is also different from the European polka, as double and triple meters overlay, creating a push and pull feel between players and dancers. The Paraguayan harp, guitar, double bass, violin, accordion, hand clapping, and foot stomping create a festive atmosphere. The harp is light and lacks a complex pedal system, but can produce incredibly fast sequences of sound. The guitar is linked to Agustín Barrios Mangoré, who lived from 1885 to 1944, a major Latin American composer and performer. La Catedral, Danza Paraguaya, and Las Abejas blend classical European technique with South American rhythms, landscapes, and emotions. In the bottle dance, women keep multiple bottles balanced on their heads while walking and spinning, with their bodies remaining almost completely still. The dance displays balance, grace, body control, and the pride of Paraguayan women. In village festivals, music does not stand alone on a stage. It goes along with footsteps, clapping, food, and long gatherings under the shade of trees. A polka can set a crowd in motion, while a guarania slows the atmosphere down, as if reminding everyone that joy and sadness have always existed together in the memory of this country across generations. Faith takes a Catholic form, but holds a Guarani spirit. On December 8th, pilgrims walk, cycle, or take vehicles to Chaco, where the statue of the Virgin Mary is linked to a Guarani woodcarver. During Holy Week in Tanyarandi, thousands of candles, oil lamps, and torches create Ivaga Rape, the path to heaven, while groups of singers walk and sing oral tradition hymns. On May 3rd, Kurusuara brings families together to clean graves, decorate crosses, and share a massive community meal. This tradition was recognized as national heritage in 2026. San Juan Ara features blindfolded pot smashing, fireballs, the burning of Judas effigies, and food stalls, also recognized as national heritage in 2026. At night, stories of the Pombero, a creature associated with the forest, and strange noises are still told as folklore, even if not everyone believes them literally. The 60-striped poncho from Piribebai is woven from fine threads into about 60 stripes, connected to the Triple Alliance War and the resilience of the community. Because the number of weavers is declining, the technique was placed on the UNESCO Urgent Safeguarding List in 2023. Traditional clay pottery is made in Ita, Tobati, and Yaguaron. The clay is cleaned, kneaded, hand-shaped, smoothed, and fired, a craft passed down mainly by women and was protected under UNESCO Urgent Safeguarding in 2025. These two heritages now survive thanks to a dwindling number of women who still know how to weave the threads or shape the clay. Before the Europeans arrived, the East was home to various Guarani communities, and the West belonged to Chaco peoples. There was no single original tribe, as each group had its own language, territory, and survival methods. In 1537, Asuncion was established by the Paraguay River as a base for Spain to enter the interior. From 1609 to 1767, Jesuit missions organized Guarani communities with churches, schools, crafts, agriculture, music, and printing. A homemade press printed the first Guarani books. This process Christianized and reorganized indigenous society, so the ruins hold both achievement and loss. Paraguay won its independence on the night of May 14th and the morning of May 15th, 1811, with very little bloodshed. From 1814 to 1840, José Gaspar Rodríguez de Francia consolidated power, restricted landowners, isolated the country, and defended sovereignty while maintaining absolute authority. Under Carlos Antonio López, railways, iron foundries, steamships, and telegraphs marked modernization. From 1864 or 1865 to 1870, Paraguay fought Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay in the Triple Alliance War. Francisco Solano López died at Cerro Cora, leaving the population devastated, regions ruined, territory lost, and families shattered. Women played a massive role in rebuilding. The figure of 90% of the male population dying is debated, but the level of destruction is undeniable. From 1932 to 1935, Paraguay and Bolivia disputed the Chaco Boreal in the War of Thirst. Distance, heat, and lack of water caused as many casualties as bullets. Paraguay kept most of the land but lost tens of thousands of men. Water wells today recall a time when thirst could arrive before the enemy. From 1954 to 1989, Alfredo Stroessner ruled through political control, secret police, torture, exile, and patronage of the Colorado Party. In 1992, the archives of terror were found, turning stories into evidence and exposing the cross-border coordination of Operation Condor. UNESCO inscribed the documents into the memory of the world in 2009. Since 1989, Paraguay has democratized, but land concentration, political patronage, urban-rural disparities, and the gap between law and real life remain. Agriculture, soybeans, cattle, hydropower, and border trade generate income, but put pressure on the Chaco, indigenous lands, and the Atlantic forest. The country's future needs to balance economy with conservation, energy with ecosystems, Guarani identity with globalization, and land ownership rights with the survival of indigenous communities. Clean water, inequality, and deforestation are questions that cannot be solved with empty promises. As evening falls, the terere flask goes around the circle. The Guarani still plays, women bend over weaving looms, and the tagua steps through the thorny forest. Itaipu still covers the place where Guaira once roared. It is a country that speaks two languages but lives by blending them together, produces massive electricity but has communities without water, takes a Catholic form but holds a Guarani soul, and has German towns next to isolated tribes. Paraguay has no shortage of extraordinary things. It just lies off the path the world usually travels. If this journey opened a different perspective for you, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Many lands wait to be discovered by eyes and patience that listen to their unique stories.